Imagine a familiar scene, a weekend barbecue. A friend proudly announces they've just made their final mortgage payment. Immediately, the group erupts in celebration. Beers are raised, congratulations are shared, and everyone praises their financial responsibility. But notice the wealthiest couple at the party. They're sitting quietly, offering only a polite smile. They aren't celebrating, not because they're envious, and certainly not because they can't afford to pay off their own home. It's because they understand a secret that would fundamentally challenge what most Americans over 50 believe about their money. Prepare yourself, because what I'm about to share will flip your entire understanding of debt and wealth on its head. The rich almost never pay off their mortgage early, especially after the age of 50. And if your primary financial goal is to become mortgage-free, you could be unknowingly walking into one of the most significant financial traps of your adult life. In this video, I will reveal precisely why the wealthy view debt so differently. I'll explain how your paid-off house might actually be costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost opportunity, and I will outline exactly what you should be doing instead. This is not financial theory. This is the practical playbook for how real wealth is built and protected after the age of 50. Let's begin with a critical insight, the financial lie your parents unknowingly taught you. For generations, a single financial narrative has been ingrained in our culture. Pay off your mortgage, own your home outright, and you will achieve financial peace. Perhaps you remember your parents celebrating with a mortgage-burning party back in the 80s. Maybe you've spent years dreaming of the day that monthly payment vanishes from your budget forever. But here is the critical piece of the puzzle that nobody ever mentions. That dream was forged in a completely different economic universe. Think back to the 1970s and 80s. Mortgage rates were astronomical, hitting 12, 15, even 18%. At the same time, a simple savings account could yield 5 to 10%. In that environment, your house wasn't just a place to live, it was often the single best investment you could make. Paying off that high-interest debt as quickly as possible was not just a good idea, it was the most logical financial move. But today, you are playing by your grandfather's rules in your grandson's economy. The landscape has profoundly changed. Mortgage rates are at historic lows, while a world of diverse investment opportunities is accessible to everyone. The game has evolved, but the advice has remained dangerously static. Last year, a financial advisor in Denver shared an insight with me that was incredibly clarifying. He said the most common mistake he sees in clients over 50 isn't a lack of savings. It's their tendency to make emotional decisions with their finances rather than strategic ones. And the single most emotional and often most damaging decision they make is rushing to pay off a low-interest mortgage that is, in reality, a powerful financial asset working in their favor. This brings us to the second wealth destroyer, the silent thief that may be living in your home. When you pay extra on your mortgage, you're creating an invisible cost, the silent thief of wealth known as opportunity cost. Every single dollar you divert to pay down your mortgage principal is a dollar that is no longer earning, growing, or compounding for you. It becomes immobilized, sitting dormant inside the walls of your house, much like cash stuffed under a mattress. Imagine hiring an employee who shows up to the office every single day but produces zero results. You would never tolerate that. Yet, that is precisely what your home equity becomes: unemployed money. Let's use a real, tangible example. Suppose you have $30,000 of equity in your home. If that same $30,000 were invested and earned a conservative 6% annual return, that would be an extra $1,800 in your pocket every single year. That's $150 every month that could be flowing to you, but isn't. And this isn't a one-time loss. It's a loss that repeats every year for the rest of your life. The wealthy understood this principle decades ago. They don't view a paid-off house as the ultimate security. They see it as a pool of lazy, unproductive dollars doing absolutely nothing for them. Just last month, I was listening to a financial radio show and a man named Paul from Michigan called in. He was 62 years old, had just paid off his $400,000 home, and was immensely proud of being debt-free. But as the host walked him through the mathematics, Paul had a stark realization. By locking up that capital, he was forfeiting approximately $24,000 a year in potential investment returns. That is $2,000 of income every single month that he could have been generating. Does that scenario sound familiar? Have you ever taken a moment to calculate the real cost of your home equity in terms of missed opportunities? Now you can begin to understand why the wealthy think so differently. They see a paid-off house not as a fortress of security, but as a pile of lazy dollars sitting idle while inflation silently erodes its purchasing power year after year. If you are finding this perspective helpful and are starting to see your home equity in a new light, type eye-opening in the comments below. I'm keen to know if this is shifting how you think about your single biggest asset. This leads us to the third financial trap, the liquidity crisis that nobody ever warns you about. This is where the conversation becomes critically serious, especially for anyone over the age of 50. The greatest threat to your financial security is not the presence of a mortgage. It is the dangerous illusion of safety that comes from having all of your wealth locked away inside the four walls of your home. Think about it logically. You cannot sell a bathroom to pay for an emergency surgery. You cannot slice off a portion of your roof to fund long-term care. You cannot write a check against the value of your granite countertops when a family member is in need. It is entirely possible to be sitting on $700,000 of home equity and have absolutely zero cash when a life event strikes. I have personally witnessed this tragedy unfold time and again. A couple from Florida retires in their early 60s. Their home is fully paid off. They feel responsible, secure, and believe they have done everything correctly. Then, the unexpected happens, a sudden health crisis, a major storm that requires a new roof during a market downturn, or a call for help from their children. Instantly, they find themselves house-rich but cash-poor. Because they are retired and have limited income, qualifying for new loans is difficult. They are emotionally attached to their home and don't want to sell. In effect, they become prisoners in their own paid-off paradise. The wealthy understand a principle that is vital to grasp. Liquidity is the oxygen of your financial life. After 50, when your income stream may become less predictable and your expenses more surprising, having access to cash is not just a convenience, it is a matter of survival. Consider the story of a man named Frank from Arizona. He was in this exact situation. He owned his home outright and felt completely financially secure. Then, his wife needed an urgent medical procedure with a $60,000 price tag that their insurance wouldn't fully cover. He had over $800,000 in home equity, but he could not access it quickly without navigating a maze of bank bureaucracy or resorting to high-interest emergency loans. Frank learned a difficult lesson that the wealthy already know. Control over your assets is often more valuable than outright ownership. They maintain their mortgages not because they are unable to pay them off, but because they understand that real security after 50 is not about being debt-free. It is about maintaining maximum financial flexibility to handle whatever challenges life may send your way. Let's move to the fourth secret strategy, the significant tax advantage that is hidden in plain sight. This is one of the most powerful tools the wealthy use that average homeowners frequently disregard. Your mortgage is more than just a loan. It's a tax shelter. When you make the choice to pay it off, you are voluntarily surrendering one of the few remaining significant tax deductions available to most people, the mortgage interest deduction. For those who itemize, particularly in states with high property values, this deduction can substantially reduce your taxable income each and every year. But that is only part of the story. Here is the more sophisticated strategy that is often missed. When a wealthy individual needs a large sum of cash, their last resort is to sell stocks or withdraw from retirement accounts. Why? Because doing so triggers an immediate and often costly taxable event. Instead, they tap into their home's equity through a low-interest home equity line of credit or a cash-out refinance. And this is the elegant part of the strategy. Money you borrow is not considered income, and therefore it is not taxed. There are no capital gains taxes to pay, no early withdrawal penalties, and no risk of pushing yourself into a higher tax bracket for the year. A wealth manager from California recently shared a perfect example. One of his clients needed $75,000 to help his son start a business. Instead of liquidating investments and facing a 20% capital gains tax, he simply drew that amount from his home equity line of credit at a rate of 3.5%. This move allowed him to access the full $75,000 instead of forfeiting $15,000 to taxes. Meanwhile, his investment portfolio remained completely untouched, continuing to grow and compound. This is precisely why affluent families often maintain a mortgage indefinitely. It provides them with on-demand, tax-free liquidity without generating a financial headache. They are not engaging in illegal tax evasion. They are simply being intelligent about avoiding the creation of unnecessary taxable events. The focus isn't on the debt itself, but on maintaining access to your own capital without the government taking a piece every time you need to use it. Now for the fifth and perhaps most overlooked advantage, the gift of inflation that most people mistakenly refuse. This is a concept that is rarely discussed, but once you grasp it, your perspective on your mortgage will be permanently altered. A long-term, fixed-rate mortgage is one of the only forms of debt you will ever have that becomes progressively cheaper with each passing year. Let me illustrate this for you. Imagine your fixed mortgage payment today is $2,500. If we assume a modest average inflation rate of 3% per year in 10 years, that same $2,500 payment will only have the purchasing power of about $1,850 in today's money. Fast forward 20 years, and that same payment will feel as though you are only paying about $1,375. You are, in effect, repaying your loan with dollars that are continuously losing value. It's as if you have a silent financial partner who shoulders a larger and larger portion of your payment over time, without you lifting a finger. This isn't a complex financial loophole. It's a fundamental economic principle that the wealthy have long understood and leveraged, while many others actively work against it. I recently had a conversation with a Swiss banker who articulated this perfectly. He said, in many Western countries, people are conditioned to fear both debt and inflation. But sophisticated capital knows that when you have low-cost, fixed-rate debt, inflation becomes your ally. Why would anyone rush to extinguish a loan using today's strong, valuable dollars when they could simply allow the steady march of inflation to do much of the heavy lifting for them? Consider this. If your mortgage rate is below 4% and inflation averages 3%, your real interest rate is effectively just 1%. You are borrowing money at a near zero cost when you account for the declining value of your future payments. This is not a financial burden. It is a powerful economic gift. The wealthy graciously accept this gift year after year, while many others unknowingly discard it by using their most expensive money to pay off their cheapest debt. Let's examine a real-world case study to make this crystal clear. We'll call it the $300,000 miscalculation. Meet David, a 55-year-old engineer from Colorado. He has $300,000 remaining on his mortgage, which is locked in at a very attractive fixed rate of 3.5%. He has also diligently saved $300,000 in cash. His instinct, and the advice he's received his whole life, is to take his savings, pay off the mortgage, and finally be free of debt. On the surface, it seems like the most responsible choice imaginable. Debt-free at 55, no more monthly payments, and a clear path to retirement. But let's run the actual numbers and see the true cost of this decision. Path 1. David pays off his mortgage. Over the remaining 20 years of the loan, he will save approximately $115,000 in interest. He'll own his home free and clear and enjoy the psychological comfort of being debt-free. Path 2, David keeps his low-interest mortgage and instead invests his $300,000 into a diversified index fund portfolio. Let's assume a conservative average annual return of 8% over the next 20 years. At the end of that period, his initial investment would have grown to nearly $1.4 million. Yes, he still would have paid that $115,000 in mortgage interest. But his net gain from investing, after subtracting the interest paid, would be over $980,000. Let that sink in for a moment. In his effort to save $115,000 in interest, he would have forfeited over $1 million in potential growth. He would believe he was making the safe, prudent decision, when in reality, he would be committing an act of financial self-sabotage disguised as conventional wisdom. Which of these financial mindsets have you been operating under? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective might just help someone else in the community see their own situation in a new light. So, if paying off the mortgage isn't the goal, what is the alternative? Let me outline the exact 4-step framework that financially savvy individuals follow. We'll call it the strategic mortgage method. Step 1. Protect any fixed-rate mortgage below 4.5%. If you have a mortgage with a fixed interest rate in this range, you are holding a valuable financial asset. These are borrowing terms that may not be seen again for a generation. Do not voluntarily give up this advantage. Instead, protect it and learn to use it as a strategic tool. Step 2. Systematically invest the difference. This is not about simply avoiding extra mortgage payments. It is about actively redirecting that capital. That money should be immediately put to work in a diversified portfolio of income-producing assets, such as dividend-paying stocks, real estate investment trusts, or broad market index funds. Over the long term, even a modest 7 to 8% average return will dramatically outperform the cost of your low-interest debt. Step 3. Build a liquidity buffer. This is your peace of mind fund. You should maintain a cash reserve and a liquid savings account equivalent to at least 12 months of your total mortgage payments. This fund eliminates the fear factor associated with holding debt. It ensures that if any unexpected life event occurs, neither your home nor your financial stability is ever at risk. This allows you to be strategic without being reckless. Step 4. Conduct an annual strategic review. The financial world is dynamic. Interest rates fluctuate, market conditions change, and your personal circumstances evolve. Once every year, you must sit down and ask a simple, honest question. Is my investment strategy continuing to outperform my mortgage cost by a healthy margin? If the answer is yes, you stay the course. If not, you have the flexibility to adjust. This ensures your decisions are always based on current data and logic, not on outdated advice or emotional impulses. This is not just a theory. This is the precise mindset and methodology employed by financially independent people who understand the profound difference between being merely debt-free and being truly financially free. Now, I know there's a persistent thought in many of your minds, but won't I just feel more secure once my house is completely paid off? It's a valid question that speaks to a powerful emotional desire for safety and accomplishment. However, this is where we encounter a profound paradox. I have spoken with countless individuals in their 60s and 70s, all with paid-off homes, who experience zero financial peace of mind. The reason is simple. They are house-rich but cash-poor. Their largest asset is completely illiquid, leaving them with no flexibility, no emergency fund, and no ability to respond when life inevitably happens. They weren't irresponsible, they simply locked their wealth inside 4 walls and threw away the key. Consider the story of a man named Robert from Pennsylvania. At 66 years old, his house had been paid off for 5 years, a fact he was very proud of. Then, a perfect storm of events hit. A major plumbing issue flooded his basement, and his daughter, a single mother, unexpectedly lost her job and needed financial support. Robert was sitting on $500,000 of equity, but he couldn't get to it without a lengthy and complicated refinancing process or taking on high-interest debt. True financial peace does not come from having zero debt. It comes from having ample liquid cash reserves, multiple streams of passive income, and a portfolio of strategic investments that are steadily growing. That is genuine security. And that is why the wealthy use their mortgages as powerful, strategic tools for building wealth, rather than as enemies to be vanquished. Your financial strategy after 50 should not be based on the outdated advice of a previous generation. It must be built on asking smarter questions. The question is not, can I pay off my mortgage, but should I? It's not, how much interest can I save, but what is the opportunity cost of immobilizing this capital? This is the fundamental mental shift that separates those who simply get by from those who build lasting, durable wealth. Once you make that switch, you will never see your mortgage in the same way again. It is not your adversary. It could very well be your most valuable financial asset if you learn to use it wisely. If this video has changed your perspective, subscribe to the channel for more insights that challenge conventional financial wisdom. And let me know this was valuable by commenting below with the words, "Wealth Strategy."